York City, December 13th, 1963. The Americana Hotel, the Emergency Civil Liberties Committee, is hosting its annual Bill of Rights dinner. The event honors those who have defended civil liberties. This year, the committee has chosen to present its Tom Paine Award to Bob Dylan. Dylan is 22 years old. He has released 3 albums. Blowin' in the Wind has become an anthem. He is being recognized as a voice of his generation. Dylan does not want to be there. The ballroom is filled with older liberals, lawyers, activists, academics. They are mostly in their 50s and 60s. They wear suits and formal dresses. Dylan wears a black jacket and no tie. He sits at the head table, drinking. The speeches are long. People talk about civil rights, about freedom, about the responsibility of artists in turbulent times. Dylan drinks more. When they call him to accept the award, Dylan walks to the podium. He is supposed to give a brief, gracious acceptance speech. He does not. He speaks for approximately 10 minutes. The speech is rambling, confrontational, and deliberately offensive to the audience. Dylan begins. I haven't got any guitar here. I can talk, though. I want to thank you for the honor, and I appreciate it. I'm not going to make a long speech, but I'm going to just say what I feel like saying. He talks about the assassination of President Kennedy, which happened 3 weeks earlier. He says he saw Kennedy's face on a poster and it did not make him feel anything. The audience shifts uncomfortably. Dylan continues. I was glad I wasn't here. I don't want to see that face anywhere anymore. The room goes quiet. Dylan talks about Lee Harvey Oswald, Kennedy's assassin. Dylan says, I saw some of myself in him. I don't think it would have happened in my state, but I don't know. I saw some of Lee Harvey Oswald in myself. I don't think it would have happened, but I understand him. The audience is horrified. Some people walk out. Dylan continues talking. He criticizes the audience. He says they are old, that they have nothing in common with young people, that they are holding onto a world that no longer exists. He says, you people should be at the beach. You're all too old. I'm young. I'm 22 years old. I don't understand you. He accepts the award. He leaves the stage. The applause is scattered and uncertain. Afterward, committee members are furious. Corliss Lamont, a prominent civil rights activist and committee member, later says, Dylan insulted everyone in that room. He showed no respect for the people who have been fighting these battles for decades. Dylan later writes a letter of apology, which is published in the committee's newsletter. In the letter, Dylan writes, I am not sorry for what I said. I am sorry for the way I said it. But I cannot be what you want me to be. I cannot be a spokesman. I cannot be a leader. I am just a musician. But the incident reveals something Dylan has been feeling for months. He does not want to be the voice of a generation. He does not want to be a political symbol. He does not want to carry the burden of other people's expectations. In January 1964, Dylan gives an interview to Nat Hentoff for Fapo, The New Yorker. Hentoff asks about Dylan's role in the protest movement. Dylan, I'm not part of any movement, I just write songs. Hentoff, but your songs have become anthems for the civil rights movement. Dylan, that's not my fault, I didn't ask for that. Hentoff, don't you feel any responsibility to the movement? Dylan, no, I'm not responsible for what people do with my songs. I write them. What happens after that is not my business. The interview continues. Hentoff asks if Dylan considers himself a protest singer. Dylan, no, I've never considered myself a protest singer. That's a label other people put on me. I didn't choose it. In August 1964, Dylan attends a party in Woodstock. Paul Wolfe, a filmmaker, is there with a camera. He asks Dylan about his role as a spokesman for his generation. Dylan is visibly uncomfortable. He says, I don't want to be anybody's spokesman. I just want to write songs. Why does everyone want me to be something I'm not? Wolf presses. Don't Dylan's songs speak for young people? Dylan. My songs speak for me. If other people relate to them, that's fine, but I'm not writing them to speak for anybody else. In February 1965, Dylan gives a press conference in San Francisco. A journalist asks, "Do you consider yourself primarily a singer or a poet?" Dylan. I consider myself primarily a guitar player. The journalist tries again. But your songs have had such an impact on... Dylan interrupts. I don't think about impact. I think about songs. That's it. Another journalist asks if Dylan feels he has a message for young people. Dylan. No, I don't have a message for anybody. If I had a message, I'd send a telegram. The line gets a laugh, but Dylan is serious. He does not want to be a messenger. He does not want to be a prophet. He does not want to represent anyone but himself. In May 1965, Dylan appears on Les Crane's television show. Crane asks about Dylan's influence on young people. Dylan. I don't think I have any influence on anybody. People make their own decisions. I'm not involved in that. Crane. But surely you must feel some sense of... Dylan. No, I don't feel any sense of responsibility to anyone except myself. Crane asks if that's not somewhat selfish. Dylan. I don't think so. I think it's honest. In August 1965, Dylan gives a press conference in Los Angeles. A reporter asks, "How would you describe your role in the folk music scene?" Dylan. I don't have a role in the folk music scene. I'm not part of the folk music scene. I play music, that's all. Another reporter. But you've been called the voice of your generation. Dylan. I've been called a lot of things. That doesn't make them true. The reporter presses. Don't you feel you have a responsibility to... Dylan interrupts. No, I don't feel I have a responsibility to anything except making music that's true to what I want to make. I didn't ask to be the voice of a generation. I never wanted that. I don't know why people keep trying to make me into something I'm not. In December 1965, Dylan gives a press conference in San Francisco. The questions are increasingly hostile. Someone asks why Dylan abandoned protest music. Dylan. I didn't abandon anything. I never made protest music. I made music. Someone else asks if Dylan has sold out. Dylan. Sold out to what? What does that even mean? I'm making the music I want to make. If that's selling out, then I guess I sold out. A reporter asks if Dylan feels he owes anything to the people who made him famous. Dylan. I don't owe anybody anything. People bought my records because they wanted to. I didn't force them. If they don't like what I'm doing now, they don't have to listen. In March 1966, Dylan is interviewed by Playboy magazine. The interviewer, Nat Hentoff, asks about Dylan's rejection of the protest singer label. Dylan. I never accepted it in the first place, so I couldn't reject it. People put me in that category. I never put myself there. Hentoff. But songs like Blowin' in the Wind and The Times They Are A-Changin' were embraced by the civil rights movement. Dylan. That's fine. I'm glad people found meaning in them. But I didn't write them to be anthems. I wrote them because that's what I was writing at the time. Now I'm writing different things. Hentoff. Do you feel you've let down the people who look to you for political guidance? Dylan. I never offered political guidance. Anyone who looked to me for that was looking in the wrong place. I'm not a politician. I'm not an activist. I'm a musician. Hentoff. But don't you think musicians have a responsibility to... Dylan interrupts. No, musicians have a responsibility to make music. That's it. Everything else is extra. The interview continues. Hentoff asks if Dylan considers himself an artist or an entertainer. Dylan. I don't consider myself anything. I just do what I do. In April 1966, Dylan gives an interview in Glasgow, Scotland. A journalist asks about Dylan's relationship with his audience. Dylan: I don't have a relationship with my audience. I have a relationship with my music. The audience is separate. The journalist: but surely you must care what your audience thinks. Dylan: I care about making music that's true. If the audience likes it, great. If they don't, that's their choice. In May 1966, Dylan is interviewed in London. The journalist asks if Dylan sees himself as a spokesman for youth culture. Dylan: No, I don't see myself as a spokesman for anything. I'm just a person making music. Why does everyone need me to be more than that? The journalist: Perhaps because your songs resonate with so many people. Dylan: That's not my problem. I write songs. What people do with them is their business. After the 1966 motorcycle accident, Dylan disappears from public life for 18 months. When he returns, his rejection of the spokesman role is even more explicit. In January 1968, he gives an interview to John Cohen and Happy Traum for Sing Out magazine. They ask about his absence. Dylan: I needed to get away from being Bob Dylan, voice of a generation. That wasn't me. That was never me. Cohen: But you understood why people saw you that way? Dylan: I understood it. I just didn't accept it. I never asked for that role. It was forced on me, and I finally had to reject it completely. In November 1969, Dylan gives a lengthy interview to Jan Wenner for Rolling Stone magazine. Wenner asks about the pressure of being seen as a spokesman. Dylan: It was unbearable. People wanted me to lead them somewhere. I didn't know where I was going myself. How could I lead anybody? Wenner: Did you feel guilty about rejecting that role? Dylan: No, I felt relieved. I couldn't be what they wanted. I could barely be what I was. The idea that I was supposed to represent millions of people, that was insane. Wenner: When did you realize you couldn't do it? Dylan: Pretty early. By 1963, 1964, I knew this was heading somewhere I didn't want to go. I tried to tell people, but they didn't listen. They kept projecting onto me. Eventually, I had to walk away completely. In 1971, Dylan releases an article in The New York Times, responding to an essay by A.J. Weberman, who has been going through Dylan's garbage and analyzing it for political meaning. Dylan writes, "I'm not the president, I'm not the pope, I'm not a spokesman for a generation. I am Bob Dylan. That is all." In a 1978 interview with Ron Rosenbaum for Playboy, Dylan reflects on the burden of expectation. Rosenbaum asks if Dylan ever wanted to be a spokesman. Dylan: Never. Not for 1 second. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I wanted to write songs. That's all I ever wanted. Rosenbaum: But you must have known your songs were having an impact. Dylan: I knew people were listening, but I didn't think they'd want me to tell them how to live. That was never the point. Rosenbaum: What was the point? Dylan: The point was the songs, not what the songs meant to other people, just the songs themselves. In 1984, Dylan gives an interview to Kurt Loder for Rolling Stone. Loder asks about the Voice of a Generation label. Dylan: That was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It nearly destroyed me. I couldn't be myself anymore. I had to be this symbol. It was suffocating. Loder: How did you escape it? Dylan: I stopped trying to please people. I stopped caring what they thought. I made the music I wanted to make, and if they didn't like it, that was fine. Loder: Was that difficult? Dylan: It was the only way to survive. If I'd kept trying to be what they wanted, I would have disappeared completely. There would have been nothing left of me. In 1991, Dylan receives a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. During his acceptance speech, he says, "My daddy once said to me, He said, "Son, it is possible for you to become so defiled in this world that your own mother and father will abandon you. If that happens, God will believe in your own ability to mend your own ways." I think that's probably true, and I just want to say that I hope I can live up to that. The speech is cryptic, but the message is clear. Dylan does not answer to the public. He answers to himself. In a 1997 interview with David Gates for Newsweek, Dylan is asked if he has any regrets about rejecting the spokesman role. Dylan: "No, it was the right thing to do. I couldn't be something I wasn't. It would have been dishonest." Gates: "But you must understand why people wanted that from you." Dylan: "I understand it. I just couldn't give it to them. They wanted a leader. I'm not a leader. I'm a musician." In 2004, Dylan gives an interview to Ed Bradley for 60 Minutes. Bradley asks if Dylan ever feels he let people down. Dylan: "No, because I never promised them anything. They promised themselves something and then blamed me when I didn't deliver. That's not my fault." Bradley: "Do you think your songs still have meaning for people?" Dylan: "I hope so, but that's for them to decide. I can't control what my songs mean to other people. I never could." In his 2004 memoir, Chronicles Volume 1, Dylan writes extensively about his rejection of the spokesman role. He writes, "The press never let up. I was constantly being asked to explain myself, to justify my songs, to take positions on political issues I knew nothing about. It was ridiculous. I was a kid writing songs. I wasn't qualified to lead anybody." He continues, "The problem was that people needed heroes. They needed someone to tell them what to do. And because I'd written a few songs that resonated, they decided I was that person. But I never signed up for that job. I never wanted it." In a 2015 interview with Bill Flanagan, Dylan is asked what he would say to young artists who are being pressured to take political stands. Dylan: "I'd say don't do it unless you really want to. Don't let other people tell you what your art should be about. Make the art you want to make. If people try to make you into something you're not, walk away. Your art is more important than their expectations." New York City, December 13th, 1963. Late evening. Bob Dylan leaves the Americana Hotel. The dinner is over. The controversy is just beginning. Someone asks if he regrets his speech. Dylan: "No." Does he understand why people are upset? Dylan: "I understand it, but I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not just to make them comfortable." The person asks what Dylan will do now. Dylan: "I'm going to keep making music. That's all I've ever wanted to do. If people want to follow me, they can. But I'm not leading anybody anywhere. I'm just walking my own path." The street is cold. Dylan walks alone. Somewhere behind him, people are arguing about what he said, what he meant, what he should have said. Dylan is not listening. He's thinking about songs. The next album, the next line, the next chord, the voice of a generation, the spokesman, the leader. None of it matters. What matters is the music. What matters is the truth. And the truth is simple. Bob Dylan is not a symbol. He is a person. He makes music. That is all he has ever been. That is all he will ever be. The rest is projection. The rest is fiction. The rest is someone else's problem. Dylan keeps walking. The night is quiet. The path ahead is dark. But it is his path. No one else's. And that is enough.